Hello, welcome back to all of my returning subscribers. If this is your first time joining me on today, welcome to the Hood Astro Queen. Hit that subscribe button because you know you want to. And with that being said, tonight I wanted to get into my impression of men from each zodiac sign. Now, quick disclaimer, I thought I should preface this video with this. Number one, I'm a Sagittarius sun. So my views are going to obviously be shaped and molded from my vantage point, me being mutable fire. And then number two, obviously no two people with the same sun sign are necessarily similar in the sense that I don't want niggas in my comment section talking about, you said that I don't act like that. Who hurt you? Because like literally, obviously we know that there are a magnitude of other variables in the natal chart that impact a person's personality. So I'm kind of speaking to the overall archetype, right, of each sun sign. And if it don't apply, let it fly, okay? Let it fly, baby. It's just that, it's literally that simple. So, without further ado, I actually want to start with Capricorn, okay? So, I've dated one Capricorn man. Have any more? Yeah, only one. I've only dated one Capricorn dude in my life. But I've known a couple of other Capricorn men, just casually, whether it be friendships or peers, you know. Y'all boring as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, I find Capricorn men to be super boring. And I think a lot of it is that Saturn influence, because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. And Saturn is all about discipline. It's all about conservatism even. So a lot of these men, from my personal experience, have been very much traditionalist, meaning they're interested in working. They want you as the woman to stay home, tend to the kids. They want families. And me, you know, just being me, I'm like, baby, that doesn't like really work for me. Like what is you talking about? Like, you know, and we don't really gel. And they're also, I find the one Capricorn guy that I actually did date and was serious about, he was oddly enough in the military, and Saturn can absolutely deal with like the police force, the military, because it's also, it deals with like authority, you know what I mean? People who enjoy authority and who enjoy being in authoritative positions as far as men go. I mean, possibly women too, but we talking about men. So yeah, so ironically enough, he was I think he was in the Army. Yeah, he was in the Army. So that was, I mean, no, he was in the Navy. I lied. So, I mean, interesting, but very boring. It didn't and actually, looking back, I kind of second guess myself sometimes because I'm like, you know, my need for freedom, because I probably would have cheated on him anyway, but my need for freedom, me not wanting to feel like I'm being controlled, you know, I'm a Sagittarius through and through. I kind of wonder if I missed up on a good thing, because he wasn't a bad person at all. He was very reliable, right? That Capricorn thing, very practical, very disciplined, very driven, very, like I said, with him being in the military, like he was really like preoccupied with his career, but outside of that, he was just a very like predictable guy. He did the same thing every time each day. When we would talk on the phone, I would find myself going to fucking sleep like on him, like, you're boring as fuck. You know, me being the Sag, I like to talk. I mean, nigga, I will fuck your house up or my house. I will fuck some shit up over like a philosophical debate. Let's talk religion, let's talk politics, let's talk spirituality. And he wasn't really too much concerned with any of that. He had very limited ideas, very limited opinions on the world. And us communicating was like, it was literally like, you know, nails on a chalkboard. It really bothered me. So I ain't even gonna get into all of that, but just let's put it this way. I found a way a very artificial way to kind of get rid of his ass because I wasn't with it. So Aquarius. Okay, moving right along to the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius men, I find, tend to be, and I have a love-hate relationship with Aquarius men because I love Aquarius men. Number one, 75% of the men that I've been intimately involved with are Aquarius. Okay, and I enjoy the fact that they share a lot of things in common with Sagittarians, in the sense that, you know, with Aquarius being the natural ruler of the 11th house, that governs friendships, it governs collective society, it governs social, like, organizations. And these people tend to be very, I guess you could say, humanitarian focused, or even on some just like, what do you call it? Like rebel rousers. You know, these people like to buck orthodoxy. Side note, my ascendant is squaring Uranus, and you know, Uranus co-rules Aquarius. So I don't know, I just find myself very intrigued by these men, because a lot of Aquarius men tend to have their own sense of thought, whether they're very open or they don't even have to be outgoing as far as like vocalizing their opinions. But I tend to find them, you know, to have their own like distinct view on life. And I enjoy hearing them talk about it, you know. And they can be stubborn. Obviously, they're fixed air, but these people, or men, Aquarius men in particular, can be very, I just find them to be very eccentric. And like I said, one of the best humanitarianisms, and that's such a turn on to me. These men often like literally put themselves on the front lines for a cause. And this can be in very like obvious ways, meaning they're involved in politics or, you know, like social groups or organizations. Once again, Aquarius being all about connecting with other people, or just on a like chill, laid back, like giving you their perspective on life kind of way. And I really enjoy that. One thing I hate about Aquarius men is that they tend to be very stoic, like emotionally unavailable. And there's already this stigma as it pertains to men, especially black men, that their feelings are just unaccessible. They're very, you know, just like emotionally unavailable. And when you add this Aquarian energy to it, because Aquarius is naturally like, they don't, especially Aquarius men don't like hot and heavy feelings. When things get really emotionally sticky and draining and uncomfortable, they will move that shit around, okay? Similar to Sagittarius. So like I said, I can appreciate it to a degree, but it's almost as if like there's nothing productive, because at the same time, I enjoy being straightforward about feelings. Like, we don't have to do the most. We don't have to, you know, feel all of our emotions to the 10th power. But let's talk about what's going on here as it pertains to a romantic relationship, and express ourselves and be very direct up front, and just make sure we're on the same page so that we can move forward. When it comes to emotions, when it comes to relationships, Aquarian men, they don't do that. You know, they kind of march to the beat of their own drum, which is why a lot of them tend to find themselves in very unorthodox situations. So these could be men who are either players, men who are in like polyamorous relationships, or just find themselves like kind of, I don't want to say bouncing from one girl to another, but very much like committophobes. Or even if they are in relationships with women, though their partner doesn't really feel like they know all of them, and that's just how they are, and that's actually how they prefer it, which is what I don't like. But on another note, they can be some really kinky, like in the bedroom, really kinky, really nasty. Like, I'm fucking with all that. Like, I love Aquarius men. Pisces men are disgusting. And once again, this is Megan's opinion, okay? They are annoying. And here's the tea. Pisces is mutable water. And these people tend to be, just the Pisces archetype tends to be very creative, very, and actually because they're mutable, much like Sagittarius, they can kind of adapt to a lot of things. So I often find a lot of Pisces people, you can actually mistake them for being like a magnitude of different zodiac signs, because they do that well with they do really well with mirroring and reflecting whatever they're around. And one of the drawbacks of this is that if they're not firmly rooted in their personalities and who they are, and depending on what else is going on in their chart, they cannot really have a strong identity or sense of self. And as it pertains to Pisces men, I find them to be very much people pleasers. They are followers. True story, my child's father is actually, he's born on the February 19th. So correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that's the cusp. He's literally an Aquarius Pisces cusp, but technically, like on paper, I think his son is at the 0 degree of Pisces, even though he shares lots of Aquarian attributes. That Pisces energy is still prevalent. And when I tell you, it's disgusting. Like, they are passive aggressive. They are very much sensitive, overly sensitive to everything around them, with Pisces being co-ruled by Neptune. Neptune is a planet of illusions, delusions. So these people can just kind of be caught up in their own world, caught up in their own interpretation of people, places, and things. And it just gets annoying. Also, Pisces men are secretive, very secretive as fuck. And that can lead to a host of other issues. But then they're also just they try to overcompensate for what they feel like they lack. And then it leads them to look corny. It leads them to look weak. And I just find myself being the type of person who will bitch around a Pisces man. And that's just like, I will chew you up, eat you, spit you out for like literally breakfast, lunch, and dinner if you're a Pisces male. Like, and that's just the true tea. Like, your balls don't hang low enough for me. And that's just Megan's synopsis on that. Aries men. Aries men I've dated, actually it was one Aries male in particular that I was intimate with, and Aries is ruled by Mars, okay? It's the higher octave of Mars, otherwise known as the daytime soldier, with Scorpio being the lower octave of Mars. So Mars, what is Mars? Mars is all about your willpower. It's all about your drive. It's all about your it's raw, animalistic, sexual energy. It's also about your fighting style, right? It's associated with competitiveness and, anger, and even sports and things that are just rawly physicality, and that could be like sports. It could be fighting, warfare, sex, anything that involves the body and passion. And with that being said, Aries men tend to be very dominant. Like, unless they have other things that kind of dilute this energy signature in their charts, they tend to be kind of like alpha males type of guys. And for me, I like it, but it can go really right or it can go really wrong, because I'm an alpha woman, or what I would like to call an alpha woman, So, in other words, bitch, you cook me breakfast. You come, make sure you fluff my pillows at night, bitch. Make sure I'm comfortable. The fuck? You come comb my child's head and make sure they got their lunch packed for school. So like the gender roles, there's like an issue with gender roles. And I found that to be true in my situation with said Aries male. And at the time I was young, so I was a little bit more compromising as far as what I was willing to kind of experiment with. But ultimately we clashed, we bumped heads a lot. And once again, he was very headstrong, very, like I said, alpha male, alpha driven. aggressive, impulsive, all of those things that you can kind of associate with that Mars energy signature. But, okay, because Mars is such a sexual, animalistic planet, Aries men tend to be very sexual. Very, very sexual men. And it could be on the more selfish side of sexuality, just because Mars is a very quick planet, so it expends energy quickly and it kind of dies out quickly. So these could be men who lose interest. You know, they're very concerned with the physicality. They like good looking women, but then their eyes, they can have a wandering eye, a roaming eye. And that's exactly what I dealt with. We had the best sex. It was amazing sex. But I'm pretty sure he had good sex with a lot of people, because he was a type of person who, you know, he enjoyed the chase. And that's very much that Mars energy as well. Also, Aries men tend to be very just physically expressive, very visibly expressive, you know. When they're happy, they're letting you know that they're happy. When they're sad, when they're angry, they're letting you know that they're angry, which, depending on what else is going on in their chart, right, and depending on the situation, could lead to situations where there's like high levels of physical aggression. And I don't work well with that. I don't. And they can actually be prone towards physical abuse. Not all Aries men, obviously, but, you know, a lot, that archetype, just because they tend to be very domineering and controlling men. And even if it's not physical abuse, it could be mental abuse, verbal abuse, but they're very expressive. And it works with some women. It don't work with me, okay? Because you can't control my mouth and you can't control these hands. So it literally does not work with me, okay? And I find a lot of times Aries men tend to gravitate towards women whom they can dominate, because Mars is all about willpower. So it's almost like the battle of the wills, this teeter-tottering effect to where you're literally balancing your ability to force your will on other people, or you're trying to resist someone forcing their will on you. I don't fuck with it. I don't. But y'all good for some dick though. And that's about it. Now, Taurus men are annoying, equally as annoying as Pisces men, simply because of their stubbornness. And I think this is a pretty big archetype or stereotype of Taurus people in general, just because Taurus is fixed earth. So these people can be very slow to coming to their own decisions, but just very like clinging, very, very much clinging on to their perceptive of the world. You know, these men can have very fixed opinions on what's right and wrong. My stepfather actually is a Taurus. We had a very tumultuous relationship just throughout childhood, me growing up. I mean, I'm talking about getting like physically violent on both sides. We fight like cats and dogs, verbal abuse, emotional, I mean, everything. And it stems around this kind of inability for I guess you could say, Taurus men to be able to detach themselves from their perspective, from their worldview. That stubbornness, it doesn't mesh well. It does not mesh well with me, because I'm too headstrong for that. So yeah, y'all annoying as fuck. But I will say this: Taurus men can be very sensual. I've dated one or more like one Taurus guy, just casual dating, very sensual. Taurus is ruled by Venus. Venus is literally the planet of pleasures, right? The pleasure of the senses. So that can be very sensual, very sexual even. But nah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm going to do a hard pass on that. Gemini. I have never dated a Gemini man, and this is the exception. I've never personally dated a Gemini man myself, but Gemini men they have a very, I guess you could say, less than stellar review amongst women, just because Gemini is the sign of duplicity. So, and this goes for both men and women. This can translate into this, what a lot of people know to be like the twin, the two-faced kind of energy. So these people can have a reputation for being one way, but then they have a secret face, or, like literally like having two faces or two personalities, or their minds can be like, their minds have these extreme polarities that they kind of tend to explore from time to time. And it can translate to other people as being like just outright crazy, psychopath or disingenuous. A lot of, especially Gemini men, have a reputation for being liars, for being even narcissists, for being hard to even be faithful, because Gemini is easily bored. Okay. So, having a Gemini sun, a lot of these men could possibly be the type to, like, they have to be with a woman who can really catch their attention, because these men are naturally charming. They're charmers. They can talk you, especially because Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury represents intellect, but it can also represent the mouthpiece. So these men can be very, like I said, charming, witty, slick with the mouth, and they can sell you a dream. They can sell you a dream, but secretly feel a different way, or they can very much love you or care about you or like you, but because they have this intrinsic desire for exploration, for new things, it could also almost be like there's a different side to them. Even if you've been with a Gemini male for years, you don't know him. You don't completely know him. You just don't. Or there's another person who, like, yeah, I fell in love with Bobby, right? But there's this other side of Bobby that that's not the person I fell in love with. You know what I'm saying? You might tolerate the other person, but there's always, like I said, this sense of duplicity that comes along with Gemini men. And then on just the downright shadow side, depending on if they're resonating on like a lower vibration or lower frequency rather, or a higher frequency, they can just be downright nutty. Like, look at your Kanye West, look at your, even Tupac's, like they can come off, especially in a romantic space, as just men who are, they don't know what they want. They can be very cruel even. They can be just confusing. They can be womanizers. They can, be very hard to pin down. They can get a reputation for, like I said, being a little kooky for Cocoa Puffs and people not really understanding, or even being hypocrites. Like they, or they get a reputation for talking out of both sides of their necks. These men can live double lives, taking it back to that element of like duplicity, So there's this sense of like two energy signatures that don't really mesh with one another, kind of fighting for dominance. But yeah, like I said, I personally have not dated one, so I'm just kind of vocalizing the review that I've heard, that I've received from other people. Cancer men usually, like literally 9 times out of 10, have mama issues. If they don't have mommy issues, they are still riddled with like just a lot of an overabundance of emotional problems, because Cancer is ruled by the moon. Your moon governs what? It's the mother. It's the natural ruler of the 4th house. So it's literally the mom. It's the way you're nurtured. It's the emotions, your subconscious emotions. It's everything. It's feminine energy. And Cancer sun men tend to have and once again, depending on what else is in their chart, this overabundance of feminine energy. And because they're men, and this is kind of similar to the Pisces male in a way, because in a man, socially, we're programmed for men to not really embrace this physical side, or this emotional side. These men tend to try to overcompensate in a way that it can be very disingenuous and almost makes them like, it's harder to bear. I would almost rather you just break down and cry. If you're going to beat my ass or, punch a bitch or be messy and be hostile and just be a mean-spirited person, just admit that you're sad and cry. You know what I mean? And I find a lot of Cancer men tend to have these issues. Perfect example, celebrity examples. 50 Cent lost his mother when he was very young. And of course he has, because I took a look at his chart, but he has some other things at play as well. But speaking to that Cancer sun, there being issues with the mother, you can tell he is a very emotional guy, which is why he invests so much energy in being petty. Him getting this reputation for being the clapback king and 50 Cent is so petty. And he is literally known for dragging people. Even his own son, his own birth son, like he supposedly beefed with his own son and is like publicly denouncing, poking fun at, dragging his own son. This man will literally stop at nothing to go toe to toe and out petty somebody. And we can laugh because it makes for, entertainment, but just on some real shit, that's the sign of a man whose emotions are fucking out of control. A man who has some deep-rooted mommy issues, right? The way that because the way that your mom nurtures you sets the tone for the way that you nurture yourself. And that sets the tone for the way that you nurture others, the way you can build other people up or not, for the way that you can nurture your own kids or not. You know what I'm saying? This man has a lot of deep-rooted issues, and that's that Cancer shit that I'm talking about. Kevin Hart is another one. Lost his mother early, and he tends to have another issue that I see with Cancer men, which is this thing of them being womanizers. He's a serial cheater. He cheated on his ex-wife, whatever her name is, and now he's with this, new woman, and they're married, and he's been in the news for cheating on her. There's this sense of, especially with Cancer being so tapped into the feminine energy, these men can be straight up womanizers. They can use that energy to their advantage, almost to a point where it's kind of like manipulative. You know what I'm saying? And it's too much. They come with too many issues, and I don't know if and the thing is, because their sun sign is so tied to women, right, and nurturing, there's going to be a lot of karma that they have around women. They have a lot of karma tied around, like the mom, like I said, or women. And on the positive side, if this is good karma, right, if he's like a mama's boy and, has a good relationship with his mom and, I guess that's cool, but if you ask me, that's still too much, because I don't want a mama's boy. I don't want to be with a person who's just super emotional. But on the other hand, if they're separated from that feminine energy, it's detrimental for all men, but especially Cancer men, just because they're ruled by the moon. So they can be straight up sociopaths. And you don't really know which one you're getting unless you really know the Cancer man at hand. I don't have time for that. I really don't. So I think I've talked enough. I'm going to make this, once again, a 2-part series. So I'm just going to reach a stopping point here. Make sure you drop down in the comment section below. Share your experiences. What y'all think? You know what I'm saying? Ladies, especially, I want to hear your opinions. And I'll be back very soon with part 2 for my guys of each sign or males of each sign or however. I don't know how I'm going to set the title, but anywho, practice unconditional self-love so that you can love others. And as always, until next time,